If you still have first quarter sales and profit for open from the last lesson, you won't need to open it again. But if you're doing this lesson on its own, you'll need to click Office button, Open, navigate to the C drive on your computer, Practice folder, All Sessions, Session 2, and we want first quarter sales and profit 4. This lesson is about selecting non-contiguous cell ranges. Contiguous is a very impressive word. It simply means a range of cells that split across two blocks of cells in different parts of the worksheet. Non-contiguous ranges can be selected using both the mouse and keyboard. The keyboard method may seem a little involved at first, but you'll find it much faster once you've got the hang of it. Let's first select a contiguous range. You already know how to do this. This is range B4 to D8. So I click in B4 and I select the range now to D8. Now I'm going to select a non-contiguous range, which is B4 to B8 and also cells D4 to D8 at the same time, and I'm going to do this using the mouse. Here's how it's done. First we select the normal contiguous range B4 to B8. I then hold down the Control key on the keyboard and I select cells D4 to D8. And you can see that I've now selected two different blocks of cells at the same time. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the keyboard, and that's a little bit more complex than using the mouse. To do that, I'll first use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move to cell B4. I'm now going to press the F8 key on the keyboard, that's on the very top row of your keyboard, and use the arrow keys to navigate down to cell B8. I'm now pressing Shift F8 on the keyboard and using the arrow keys to navigate to cell D4. I now press F8 on the keyboard again and I use the arrow keys to navigate down to cell D8. And I've selected the same non-contiguous range B4 to B8, D4 to D8 using the keyboard without touching the mouse. Now I want you to look at the bottom right hand side of your screen to the status bar. And notice that the status bar is giving us a lot of information about the cells that we just selected. I can see that in the months of January and March my total sales were 257,000. I can see that there are 10 values making up the range, and that on average each of my branches sold 25,700 for January and March of that year. You might think the status bar is quite wonderful, giving us all that information for nothing, but if you right click you can do even more things. For example, I might want to look at the maximum and minimum values during that period. By clicking those checkboxes I can see that the maximum sales figure was 43,000. I can see that was Los Angeles in March, and the minimum value 12,000. Let's look at the data. Yes, that was Munich in January. You can now close the workbook and there's no need to save it.